It's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright.
Good evening, welcome along to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It is the Geordies here, Geordies there show tonight. Steve Wilkinson is joining us. He's just having a few technical issues, so he's had to reboot his computer. I am going to bring in Ian Toon Trader, who wants to quickly promote a charity. Well, it's a page. I'm going to stick it in the Just Given page, which I'm going to stick in the chat now. Good evening, Ian.
Evening, lads. Thanks for having me on.
Hi,
Steve.
Ian.
Hi, Ian.
Good to see you, mate. Okay, tell us what this is all about, Ian, please.
So basically, I've been part of Stamford Cricket Club for a long time, 25 years, something like that. And we've gone from a shed on a hill, rat infested, to having a really good facility. We got Sport England and some, I think it was lottery funding to actually build the facility we've got. We get like 80 kids. When I was doing it last year for the youth, cricket training, about 80 kids on the All-Star and Dynamos system, which are aged 5 to 11, and we also have loads and loads of young youth players playing for the senior team. We played Durham and Northumberland County and such. There is a football pitch at the facility. It's not just a cricket club; it's a sports club. Unfortunately, the football team, I think, stopped playing up there just when COVID hit, and it's never come back again. So that's something we're looking at as well. And long-term plan, there was a tennis court up there that we're trying to get back. The upshot is we've had a lot of sponsorship fall off in the last few years, and the facilities cost money, obviously, to keep going. We haven't got an all-weather track, which we really need, and we've got the skills within the club to build it. We just need to pay for the materials, because this year we couldn't get any youth training on for the first 2 months of the season, believe it or not, just because of the rain and how wet the outfield was and such. So basically, it's just a fundraiser to raise funds for the cricket club. Hopefully bring football back to, certainly we're speaking to teams at the moment who want to use our facilities to host them. And we've lost a lot of sponsorship with COVID. So a lot of the board sponsors that we had no longer actually sponsor the club now, just because of financial reasons, going out of business or whatever. So it's really there's 3 prizes that we're putting into. It's very hard to call it what it isn't, but it's a fundraiser with prizes. Let's put it that way. So everybody who donates, if you donate a £5, you get put in for one sort of entry into the prize draw. You kindly sorted out an Alan Shearer ball for us, Steve, which was really appreciated. There's also a 21-22 signed frame shirt with all the big names on there that you would expect from that season. And we've also got a John Joe Shelby signed shirt. They're the 3 prizes that you can win if you donate. The more you donate, the more entries into the prize draw you'll get. Simple as that. So we're looking, we've got a figure that we need to raise. Obviously, I don't expect it anywhere near the figure that's on the Just Giving from your guys, but anything that you can do to help. The prizes are obviously really good prizes. And if there's anybody out there who, wants to support sort of, kids sport in Northumberland, we're doing as much as we can at the club to sort of help, get these kids playing and everything. So yeah, that's it really. Just really coming with my begging ball out, just saying if you can jump onto the Just Giving that Steve's got, I presume you'll be putting that in.
Stuck in the link there now, mate, and I'm going to stick it in again, and this time I'm going to pin it. So anybody who wants to take part in this in this wonderful idea, then please pop onto the Just Giving page, which is now in the chat, and it's now pinned to the top. And if you can give anything, please do it. I see there's a healthy amount in there already. £744 raised of a £5,000 target. But get yourself on there. Support Stamford MCC. It's a big it's a big thing that Ian's taken on here. So please give him some support.
Brilliant. That's amazing. Thanks very much, Steve.
Top man, Ian. Good luck with it. We'll see you on the fans forum, mate. Take care.
No problems. See you later. Bye-bye.
Great to have you on. It's a really worthwhile cause, that. So please give it as much support as you can. I know times are hard. Okay, George, we are edging a bit closer. edging ever closer to the new season, but we're going to ask you how did the operation go and how is your eyes?
Well, the operation, according to the surgeon, went very well. I can't see really, but I'm using this to look at the strap, and I see Alan Little very kindly offering to do things with North Tyneside Council. Alan, all I'll say is I'm being loved to death. I'm enjoying every minute of it. The only criticism I get of me male neighbours is why all the women come in to see me and nobody go in to see them. No, I'm being loved to death. I couldn't ask for any more, Alan. So, and I've got various other things, but I'm at the moment, because I've got a duff eye this side, and this is the one I operated on. I'm virtually blind at the moment. I had a 5.5 hour operation on Friday on my eye, wide awake the whole time, uncomfortable having needles and scalpels stuck in your eye when you're lying there watching it. But they seem very happy at the hospital. I go on Friday for the next assessment, but I've just said to Neil before you came on, today I've been starting to see things with me operated eye on the telly. I can see shapes moving and numbers now, where when I came home on Saturday I couldn't see a thing. It was lights out. So all sounds positive, and I just thank everybody for their good wishes and their support. It is important, as I keep saying to people, and I've had a good share of it this year with my problems with Marjorie and so on. So thanks everybody. I'm progressing, and you know, Steve knows I've been doing my best to come on when it's able. So yeah, I'm fine. Thank you everybody. Thank you.
Great stuff. Okay, lots of love in the chat for you as well, George, which is great to see. So thanks to everybody for the very kind comments. Let's start with pundits, George, as we edge closer to the new season. A lot of pundits playing down Newcastle's chances of finishing high in the league. Alan Little says 442 magazine are tipping us to finish 6th place this coming season. Would we be happy with that? With us competing in the Champions League, or would it be a massive disappointment? Michael says, I love the pundits saying 6th to 8th. Take some pressure off already. I think we can get 3rd or even say it quietly 2nd. Much prefer pundits saying 6th to 8th rather than top 3. That means that the pressure is off. And yeah, lots of people commenting about that, George. What's your thoughts on the pundits tipping us to have a little bit of a slump this year?
Well, not entirely surprised, because that's the narrative, isn't it? Don't want this Saudi attached club getting too high and all that sort of rubbish. No, it's and I agree with what somebody said. If they're tipping that, then it does take a little bit of pressure off Eddie. He's not having to look over his shoulder and think of top and second all the time. He can relax a bit. But no, I think it's all part of the press narrative to play down Newcastle United if they possibly can. I think I sincerely think that they may be made to eat their words the way things have gone in the pre-season, and who knows? But yeah, I think there's an agenda is the word I would use. There's an agenda, Newcastle United agenda. You know, all this stuff that's going on about getting upset on the touchline and all the rest of it, and people saying that, well, that's kind of guided towards Newcastle United. We're the only club in the Premiership that didn't have a fine or a charge for bad behaviour on the touchline. You know, they're the sort of things that's all part of that agenda that let's have a go at Newcastle United again. And same with all these amazing things that's happening in the transfers, because we get, was it 23 million for ASM? Some people seem to think that they're up in an uproar, and yet Chelsea and others are spending millions more. Not a word said. No, Steve, for me, it's an agenda, a press agenda at the moment, and I think they'll come unstuck with it. I sincerely do.
Okay, Mitch, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, Carragher, Neville had their say. We've seen all the journalists, you know, Bet Victor have come out and had their little say. Somebody in the chat mentioned that Bet Victor data analysis has us 3rd. I've seen one table predicting Newcastle to finish 2nd. So not everyone's writing us off, but I mean, this is just people's thoughts, isn't it, Mitch?
That was a supercomputer one, and I think as AI and predictive things get better and better, I think you're starting to have to look at some of those things a little bit more carefully. The pundits are just desperate for the status quo to return. That's all they're desperate for. They're desperate to talk about the same clubs, the clubs they like, the clubs they haven't interest in, the clubs that can all cluck about and say, well, when I was there, and all of that. It ignores. I love Carragher and Neville saying that the signings weren't terribly exciting. They were Eddie Howe signings. Well, by my measure, Eddie Howe signings did quite well. So I'm quite happy for them to be Eddie Howe signings. Thanks. You know, I think it really is clueless. Terry's right. Clueless is the word. And it's this desperation to see a status quo return. If you look at what Tottenham are going through at the minute, are they really going to be any better off than they were last season? I don't think so. And if Kane does leave, they're leaving it late to make sure a replacement comes in for him. But we know that they're in trouble financially, so they're going to have to be very careful how they go ahead with things. You know, I've seen a couple of them even bigging Brighton up over us. Well, Brighton have sold off their bloody team since last season. And yes, they've been very good at replacing, but that was when Dan Ash was there. Where's he now? Oh, he's here. You know, so I think that there just does seem to be, I think my dad's picked the right word, agenda. There's an agenda there, a desperation to see a status quo return. And I think they really, inside themselves, I think they hope that we would just bugger off. Well, guess what? We're here to stay. And you've got to listen to our owners. And this documentary that's coming out the weekend, that's going to be very interesting. Because I think it's going to ram a few more things down certain people's throats as we go. And it takes the pressure off if they're not expecting them. Because if they're not expecting them to do anything, it actually also then takes the powder out of that cannon when they turn around and say, but it's these Geordies' expectations. Well, your expectations aren't that we're going to finish anyway, so why should we feel any different? We know we're ahead of the game. We're ahead of the schedule. We know that. And almost, it's not a free hit. We've just accelerated the plan, which I think is going to be fantastic. And so for me, yeah, bring it on. Let's stick it up.
Steve, good evening, mate. It's always interesting, isn't it? Pre-season and predictions and stuff like that. It's when people can say whatever they want at the start of the season. By the end of it, you know, does anybody really remember what people said? I think the only thing that I can think in over the last 20 odd years is when some pundit said you can win nothing with kids, and then Manchester United went on to dominate football for many years to come in England. But yeah, I mean, it's just opinion, Steve, isn't it? And you know, I think I agree with some of the people in the chat. It takes the pressure off, I think.
Well, it is opinions, but I don't know what it's based on. You know, is it Mitch's dice and things that they use to do all this predicting? Because I saw one prediction in the I think it was on the BBC website. Is it Phil McNulty or something done it this morning? He had us 7th behind Chelsea. Now, what evidence has he got that Chelsea are going to be any better than last season? They've got a new manager. It's got some new players. But it's a club starting from scratch. You've got no evidence at all about how well Chelsea is going to play to suggest, other than historically. And that's the same with seeing that Liverpool are going to be back up the top. Man United's going to get even better when they haven't got a centre forward to score goals, which I think is going to trouble them. They've got a guy in who they think is going to be a new Haaland, just because it sounds like Haaland. But you know, 70 million quid. not sure. If he doesn't work, then they're in trouble. But I think we've said plenty of times, the best way to a Newcastle operator is under the radar. So if they're predicting that we're not going to be successful, let's just do what they all said we were going to do last year and struggle to get into they certainly didn't think we were going to be as anywhere near where we finished. So bring it on. Let's see what happens. And hopefully in a few weeks' time, after we've got some pretty difficult games to start the season off, if we've got a reasonable return on points from those and have put in the sort of performances we did last season, let them eat their words.
Okay, lots of people having an opinion. Yeah, Terry Armstrong, you're right, mate. Mr. Merson did have an opinion, and Mr. Jordan. I got Paul Merson to put his on a photograph. If you remember last year, he predicted Newcastle would finish 10th. He couldn't have been any further wrong. So predictions are predictions. Al-Walid, what's your take on some of these people who call themselves journalists, saying that Newcastle are going to be 6th, 7th, and dare I say it, even 8th?
I don't really much give it much listen for those bandits, and they even said the takeover will not happen. Takeover happened. They said Newcastle will be relegated. We didn't be relegated. They said Newcastle will not be in the top 4 in Champions League qualified. Newcastle went to Champions League. So this is just a matter of opinion. But my friend last night told me about Jimmy Carragher. Maybe it's not good to say, but this is just also an opinion of mine. He's not that totally wrong about what he said, that the play, and it's not that expected summer, but hopefully Eddie Howe will prove us wrong.
Okay, Kev, it's fun and games, isn't it, when you listen to these people? And again, we have to keep reminding people that a lot of these people, the journalists, do it for clickbait, and people on TV and radio do it for views and listening figures. So it's all about opinions. But what's your take on the predictions of 6th, 7th, and 8th?
Let them have their opinion. That's where they think. That's where they think. I mean, agree with everybody what said. Again, I don't care what they say about Newcastle United. The only targets what we have to worry about is what the ownership and through the business model and what the manager set out. And that's the only targets we really have to achieve. Whatever, those are internal. Everybody outside the know, if you will, or they think what they know, they can just keep chirping and keep talking. I don't give it too much time, to be honest, because you don't win football matches on the TV screen saying stuff on paper. You win it on the football pitch. And I think with the transfer window that we've had, I think it's been a great transfer window so far. So again, other clubs are in a lot worse position than we are to move forward. I think we're in the prime position to actually go further than what we did from 4th last year. Look, if we finish 5th, 6th, 7th, we might have a little bump in the road, but moving forward, we're in a very strong position to actually literally cat amongst the pigeons is a phrase. And I think we've already done that, but I think we'll chuck a few more in there as we go. Yeah, so again, I'm not bothered what they say. They can talk all about, they can hate on us. I don't really care. We've all been the most hated club in the country for years, so nothing's going to change from that perspective.
No, definitely not. Interesting stuff, though. We will keep an eye on that, of course, through the season, and maybe rub salt in some people's faces at the end of it. We will wait and see. Don't forget to ask George. A couple of questions already coming in for George. We'll do that in the second half of the show. 3 good ones already in. Steve Middlemans brings this up. Something in the news today, George. He says, are our young fans becoming too intense with wanting shirts signed and pictures, etc., outside the club training ground after a fan kicked the car of a new signing? Is it going off is it going to be like the Everton Gordon stuff? I hope not. Yeah, this video, has been, sent out on social media as things do. It picks up momentum. I think it was Adam Pearson who was up at the training ground, as he usually is, filming Livramento going off in his silver people carrier. And lots of children outside queuing, waiting to get stuff signed. The car zoomed off on this particular clip that I saw. And one young, overzealous chap took a swing at the vehicle with his foot. Couldn't have been any more than 10 years of age. The parents have since come out. Adam P was apparently asked to pass the information on or pass the footage on. I presume he must have passed it on to the police. But that was out in the public domain by then. And ultimately, the youngsters' parents have come out because there's as you would imagine, a tirade of abuse and awful things being said on social media about the young lad, etc. And the parents have said, look, it's in hand. We're disciplining him. You won't be doing that again. It's out of character. So I mean that draws a line under it. But I guess what Steve's saying is, is this becoming a little bit of a problem, George? I mean, back in the day, we used to queue up outside the ground, behind the fence, waiting for the players to come off the team bus or to go into the ground or come out of the ground. That was where we met them. The training grounds become a little bit of a hive of activity, especially during summer holidays, George. Is this a bit of a problem?
Well, if it is, it's a sudden problem because I live close enough to see them nearly, and this isn't this season. It's been for season after season. There's always it's not just kids. I mean, I know certain friends of ours, young lady friends who don't live too far away from me. They stand there and hope of getting an autograph or two as well. So I don't think it's a new one. What I do like, what you just said, and I haven't been able to read it myself for obvious reasons, is this sounds like I was going to say, well, the best thing they can do is the parents can discipline him and make sure he doesn't do it again, and that's fine and all. Because the trouble is, that a lot of kids get a lot of enjoyment out of that. And if you've got heroes, which footballers are these days, you're going to have hero worshippers. So then you've got to prepare for that, and I think we take this too far sometimes in a sense that we get an incident and then we want to stop everything for everybody. Well, I think that would be a bit sad. It's just about making sure that it's handled properly and the kids are handled properly. I have no issue with it as a thing. As I say, we've got heroes, so you'll get hero worshippers. I mean, you're saying about going to get the autographs yourself, Steve. I can remember the back end of the big old wooden stand at St. James's. I don't know how old I was, and I had a little blue autograph book, which is still in the loft somewhere. And that's what we used to do. We used to wait for the players getting on and off the buses and get autographs. And if you were lucky enough to be able to afford a program, you sometimes got them to sign a program. So it's not new. And I really would be sad if one incident was to kill all that for the youngsters who get so much out of it. And the other thing is, they're promoting that club in many ways, and that's not no bad thing, I think. So I'm if it's been dealt with by the parents and the kids being taught a lesson, then let's move on. Don't make a big thing out of it.
Yeah, I would agree. Tom Lynch says the kid was stupid. He says, but it's unsavoury grown adults acting the way they have towards a kid. If the parents sort it out, leave it at that. But it's the result of entitlement. Yeah, it has just become a bit of an issue, Mitch. I think, hasn't it, up at the training ground, and maybe something that the club need to act on. Now that this incident has happened.
If it's a problem for the club, they'll put extra security on, and that'll stop it. End. And that will be sad, in a way. Because then everybody loses out on an opportunity to grab the odd autograph and say hello to the odd player. Access to training grounds have always been a discussion. If you remember when they trained at Durham and Keegan almost had it like an open training, and that got bonkers sometimes. And so, I mean, that incident yesterday, that's between the child and his parents. It's not for me to discuss on an open forum. Let that be that. A bit of petulance and a bit of frustration. We've all done and shown similar in my time, and let's leave it at that. If the club start to perceive it's a problem, then the club will have to do something about it, and that'll involve security, and it might even involve the support of the Northumbria Police. I don't know. I'm quite sure they could do something about it, but whilst it's not doesn't seem to be a major issue, but some players will handle it different to others. We've always had some players who would stand and sign anything all day, and some who really don't like to interact. That's just the nature of people. Not everybody who's a professional footballer has that level of interpersonal interaction and interpersonal skills. They may be a fantastic footballer, but they might not always feel comfortable in a situation where they feel that they've got to stop and sign. However, if they disappear off at 200 miles an hour and then get cussed at by their own fans, that's not a great situation either. So it may be something that the club need to start to look at about access. Do you create very deliberate access points for people wanting to get autographs? Send certain players on certain days and say, right, it's your turn to go and sign a few autographs and keep the guys at the gate happy while you let everybody else get away. I think the advent of social media does bring more of these things about, and it is the way it is. It's modern life that everything seems to be life through a lens in one form or another, and that means probably more of these things get seen than have in the past. I'm quite sure it's not the first time something like that's happened, and it won't be the last. It's the first time it's been filmed.
Yeah, Barry makes a valid point. Before the days of constant podcasts everywhere, we wouldn't have even heard about this. So that's a really valid point, Barry. It's a really valid point. I mean, as you said, Mitch, people up there filming it. It's that's why it's an issue. Steve, it's just it's just one of those things that the club maybe need to clamp down on. This isn't the first time there's been activity up there, shall we say? I mean, it was because of the fact that the kid aimed a kick at the vehicle, but this, there's been issues the other way where I think it's a health and safety thing more than anything else. When you get a massive amount of kids up there, Steve, who are queuing up for autographs and stuff, and there's vehicles coming up and down that road, somebody could get hurt. Do you know what I mean? It's not the first time I've seen cars and kids collide up there, if you like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Mitch made a good point about obviously it's a peak time now because the school holidays are on and the new season's about to start. So there's going to be more kids up there than on a normal weeks once September gets going and the training starts. So I think maybe the club could have made more facilities available so that some people, as you said, could get a handful of players every day or every few days to stay aside, find an area where they could get people into safely from the road and get some autographs done. Autographs have been going down since time began. I haven't got them now, but I remember seeing my dad's autograph books going back to even pre-George's time. So autographs have been there for years. So it's been a done thing. We didn't have shirts in those days to sign. It was a little book.
No.
And you by hook or by crook, I'll be the last one in the book. So I always used to sign the back page, and so it's not a new thing. Autographs. I think the issue that's probably there now is a lot of younger kids expect rather than it's a valued thing. Has respect gone from the way it used to be? You respect players, and if they say no, then it's no. But next time maybe you'll get them. But I wouldn't like to see the club clamp down. I think it's more of a case of saying the demand's there. They understand the demand's there, and the more popular we become, the more likely people are want to get autographs. So I think they've got to try and find a way of, a halfway house where they can accommodate more than just a one-off hour at St James's, which sometimes happens. It's the people that are going up to the training ground, and you need to maybe make half an hour aside for somewhere to allow people to get autographs in a safe way.
Al-Walid, it's something which I've seen happen quite a few times, but lots of people at the training ground, you've been up to the training ground, you know what it's like. It's quite a narrow road, isn't it?
Well, Steve, I saw the video. I'm not blaming the kids. They are kids, and even the kick wasn't that thing I was worried about. But I didn't like when the kids were holding the car or touching the car, and the driver was moving while the kids around the car. So this is, I think, security issue. Maybe they should look at security at Newcastle. Maybe police car outside will solve this. Just one car in the front of the door. I'm sure this will not happen again. For autographs, Newcastle do that, but maybe not a lot. I remember they putting the table on the Newcastle shop in St James Park. I remember Almiron and Joe Linton and Manquill was there for autograph. They organized this, but maybe it's not quite maybe enough. Could be scheduled as you lads mentioned it. But I think this is, and it's not. As I said, the car, the driver of the car was. I think this is wrong to start going away before make sure the kids around the car. So I think it's a security thing, but it should be handled easy. If there is just one police car in front of the door, of course, everybody's scared from the police.
Kevin, some of this, I think, might be down to the fact that there is a market for autographs and signed shirts and stuff like that. Some of the kids will genuinely be up there, to get their autograph with their favourite player, but some of this will find its way onto the market. I think that's half the problem as well, isn't it? People up there for a profit rather than just something for a keepsake.
Absolutely, totally agree with everybody said. So, totally agree with Mitch. This is not the platform to talk about it, and what the parents do in terms of disciplinary action, hey, that's up to them. But at the same time, it's an instant gratification. I've got young kids, and if they don't get something their own way, they'll throw the toys out the cot. If essentially, that's just the generation that they live in and the world that they live in. We're a little older in terms of, if I don't get it, okay, well, I don't get it, and it is what it is. But I agree with the club might have to look at it from a security standpoint. I don't think they will. Just from what I know, just from certain people who work within that realm within the club, I don't think they'll look at it because of staffing things and issues, whatever they've got going on. But I don't think they'll look at it. It'll just probably be shoved under a rug, and it's the summer holidays, and they'll just move on. But again, that road is, like you said, Steve, is very narrow. I remember going in there doing summer football courses way back in the day when it was just an open, regular, whatever it was, football ground opposite the Northumberland FA. So it's very narrow. So it's quite unsafe anyway, with no barriers or nothing there. So yeah, I'm just going to leave it as it is. The public eye is the public eye. They make their own determination of it. And I was a kid once. We all were trying to get an autograph or whatever. But if it doesn't happen when you're a kid, you get a little bit agitated, which is understandable. But to maybe nowadays to take it to the extreme just slightly is a little bit of a dampener on what could have been a good experience for them. Obviously the driver and the player themselves have got to be somewhere. And so why, they just don't understand. It's a naivety essentially from the kids' part in terms of they might have to get somewhere and do something for the club or media duties or something, but they don't get that. But yeah, I'll just leave it at that and we'll move on. Yeah,
okay. Good opinions from everybody. Halfway through. Go on, George. I'm going to go to the ads quickly.
Sorry, just a historical one to take it in the opposite direction. I remember being in the dressing room at Hunters Moor in a Northern Combination game when Benny Craig was looking after her, and one of the younger lads in the dressing room, and he was, I'm not going to mention his name because I know he's still alive, was swinging his bag around, and this little blue book dropped out of his bag, and everybody thought it was his autograph book to get the autograph of the senior players. And when Benny Craig opened it, it wasn't. It was all his own bloody signature. He'd been practicing his signature, so people would like his signature.
Okay, we're going to have a quick ad break, and then we'll be back with Ask George.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at skipsandbins.com or telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Big thanks to Mr. Vicky's sauces handmade in Cumbria. You can order them from their website, mrvickys.co.uk, or by telephoning 01768 210 102. A big thanks also to New Workwear. You can find them at newworkwear.com. They're an agile and dedicated workwear provider. Welcome back as well to United Travel. They are a UK coaches firm and they are based in the Northeast. They've got 2024 tours and you can contact them on 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Email info@unitedgrouptravel.com. And they've got a website, which is unitedgrouptravel.com. There's no strangers on their tours, just people you haven't met yet. Big thanks to them for their sponsorship. Big thanks as well to Media Arts, and they supply all the video technology. If you want to become a member and get a cup, a pen, a membership card, and a scarf, then get your smartphone and put it over this QR code. It will take you straight to the membership pack. It's a £25 one-off fee. You can also go to NUFC Matters website and search membership pack to book today. If you want to help the channel, then subscribe to it by hitting the subscribe button. Hit the thumb up under the video to like the video and click share to your other social media. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. Don't forget, we help the food bank on this channel. If you want to do so virtually, go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and make a donation today. The Alan Shearer raffle is back on. 150 tickets, £1 a ticket. Win a limited edition signed Alan Shearer ball. Enter today at nufcmatters.com.
Okay, welcome back. Ask George is a section that we have dedicated on this show right from its very conception. So here we go. David Cook says, ask George, did he ever get an explanation as to why our penalty against Burton in the 2016 season ended up a free kick rather than a retake?
No, the short answer. In fact, if you look at the We Are the Geordies video, you'll see me commenting on it on the video, and I'm going, "What's that for? What's that for?" Nobody seemed to know, and I certainly never seen anything written down as to why it was
crazy, wasn't it? Absolutely crazy. Under Rafa Benitez, of course, said.
To be honest.
Yeah, Gary Milligan says, question for one-eyed naval architect, aka Filofax. Speedy recovery, George. Does George think that any of the current crop of players could become Newcastle's best ever player?
Wow, that's a good one. It is possible that another season and Bruno could be out of this world, I hope. And not far behind him, he's other Brazilian mate who, I used to kick to death when he first came and now is just unrecognisable. I would like to see a local one become a huge hero. And we've got the makings in Elliot Anderson, I think. The progress he's made in the last season, it makes it right that he wasn't sent out on loan. That's the first thing, but he's done it himself as well. I mean, if you read Eddie Howe's remarks about him when turning up for matches after the close season, and he's saying he was fitter, faster, and more up for it than any other player in the club. So I would like to see Elliot Anderson be, but the ones that's most likely are the real stars, and that's Bruno.
Okay, Barry Hogan says, question for George. I read that Dennis Law scored 6 goals in an FA Cup game in the 1960s. It was called off due to bad weather with 20 minutes to go, so it didn't count. Do you remember that?
I do indeed. I'm trying to remember the opponents. I think it was one of the Sheffield clubs, I think. And I could be wrong, but I do remember it. And I remember it even better because it wasn't just Dennis Law. I mean, they did the usual thing. They kicked off in snow and all sorts of things, thinking that the weather would pass over. And of course, they got caught in between. And that's why the match was cancelled.
It was 1961, and it was against Luton Town in the FA Cup. So there you go.
Right.
There's the answer.
Yeah.
Terry Armstrong says, local lad Andrew Cushins released a cracking song called War Flags. Does George have a favourite tune-related song from over the years?
Yeah, there's only one, isn't there? It's got to be Blade and Races. There's not another song, is there?
Blade and Races for George.
And Races. and I've got to say, I was... at the university when I first started, there was a professor called Professor Burrell, and he used to come to the Christmas party. He used to play the piano, and Professor Muckle used to play the violin. And they insisted that everybody sang the Bladen Races, all 9 verses. So, yeah, Bladen Races.
Okay, we've got 3 more. We'll rattle through these. Michael says, question for George. If he was stranded on a desert island, what book, song, and luxury would he have? Good to have you back, George.
Thank you. Book is fairly straightforward. It's John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath. There are lots of lessons in there. Second choice would be Alice in Wonderland. Song, that's a good one. What was the other one?
Luxury item.
Oh, luxury item. It's it would have to be something electronic. I'm afraid something I could play with, you know. And the songs, so many. Oh, I think Windows of Your Mind is probably one of my favourites.
Okay, Phil Scott says, best strike partnership that you've seen. My first 2 were Wyn Davies and Pop Robson, and Malcolm MacDonald and John Tudor. What's your best Newcastle strike partnership?
MacDonald, Robledo. They had a season when
Milburn and Robledo.
Sorry, yes. Milburn, they had a season when 2 seasons. The one season Jackie scored 34 and Robledo scored 28. And the following season, it was the other way around. Robledo scored 32 and Jackie scored 28. And that robbed Jackie of having top scorer for 8 years instead of the 7 he's got.
Last one from Tim. He says, question for George. Has he ever attempted playing golf, and was he any good?
The answer is yes. And that's the reason I don't play. Because I went with my uncle who lived in Aberdeen, and he used to take us when I went up on my school holidays. And he was amazed at how I could hit the ball and how far I could hit it and how spot on I was. And then I discovered the handicap issue. And I realized that if I played golf, it would be my life, because I'd want a 0 handicap. I wouldn't want anything else because I'm so competitive. So the answer is I love golf, have played it, and according to my uncle, I was good at it, but I realized it was I was too competitive for golf, because 0 handicap was the only thing that would interest me. 1s, 2s, no, I keep that. 0, got to be the best. So there you are.
Great stuff. That's Ask George for this week. Okay, Kevin, I'm going to start with you as we look ahead to Newcastle United's first game of the season. We've got the pre-season games out of the way. Aston Villa come to town this weekend, and it's a big game. This people have been advised, of course, to get into the ground slightly earlier with the new ticketing situation implemented. Game kicks off at 5:30. That's because it's live on Sky Sports, and obviously a little bit early in the week for team news, but it's looking ever increasingly likely that Fabian Schär is going to miss the game. Of course, we've been down this road before where Eddie gives an impression that someone's not going to be available, but then he is. We do know Emil Kraft and Joe Willock are both going to be out, and we do know now that Andy Madeley is going to be the referee this weekend, and that Simon Hooper is on VAR. It's important we get off to a good start, though, Kev, isn't it?
So it was good to get off to a good start. I think we've already done that in pre-season, being unbeaten, but we've just got to continue that into the Premier League. And I think the game against Villa over here, I think Unai Emery showed his hand a little bit, and to the way he wants to play. We obviously played a 3 and put people in different places, and just played the mind games a little bit. So it's going to be it's a tough start all the way around, to be perfectly honest, but thankfully we're at home, we're not playing away. So I think, like I said the other day, if we get off to a good start, with the way we play and don't let Villa settle, I think it'll be a very successful afternoon. Again, it all depends on the mindset of the players, who plays. The injury, like we said, we don't know team news. We don't know the condition of players moving forward. We'll find that out here in the next couple of days or whatever. But I would rather have a tough, difficult start than an easy one, to be perfectly honest. Then you know where you are moving forward. Not as a in a negative sense, but it's a positive sense that there's a benchmark being laid, and you know this is the competition that you're going to be coming up against maybe further down the road and to the back end of the season. Villa are a good side. They play more on the counter-attack. That's just Unai Emery way. They'll drop off, playing a low block, so it'll be up to us to really take the game to them. But again, as always, the first 20, 25 minutes are going to be a tactical battle, which I don't know, that's between the two managers, two coaches, the coach and staff move, within the game. That's up to them, how they're going to navigate winning the game. Because I always know with the Pep comment, he knows after about 180 seconds if he's going to win the game or not, based on how his team are playing within that time frame and what the game plan is. So hopefully it's going to be a positive one. I'm still going to be positive with it. Like I said the other day, I am on the fans forum of a 3-1. I think we'll just have a little bit too much for them. Again, like I said, they've showed their hand in the first pre-season game, and I watched them across a couple of other games over here, and I wouldn't say they were that great, to be perfectly honest. I think they were just very good defensively, zonally, and played on the counter-attack over the top. So we'll see what happens. Again, like I said, I think we'll we'll get over the line with a win by hook or by crook. If shithousery's involved, it is. We'll do what we've got to do to win, and I think it'll be successful.
Okay, yeah, you've already given your prediction of 3-1. You've gone for the Penman. Al-Walid, this is a big game. Aston Villa. They were a difficult opponent towards the back end of last season for Newcastle. It was one of those bad days at the office, which was quite rare. We lost the game, and Villa looked like they could score at every opportunity. They are going to trouble us with a bit of pace, I think. But yeah, what's your views on this game this weekend?
Emery and Aston Villa, they are putting. They want to become better than Newcastle, and especially not just game at the end of the season, also in the USA when they play together. Emery start taking the game very seriously. He doesn't want to try new or doing what they're doing usually in friendlies. Take it as a serious. Besides how he was trying a new thing, a new formula maybe, or maybe he's hiding he doesn't want to expose his cards. It's going to be very interested, and I hope Eddie Howe win this against Emery, because there is small game into the game between Emery and Eddie Howe. I'm worried about Watkins and I think the Argentinian Pundit. I believe they play against us very good last two games in the season, end of the season, and the tournament in USA. The interesting also about the game, it's opening game, and after that there is City and Liverpool. So I believe Eddie Howe, he will start the best 11, because it will. He will. I believe, if I understand Eddie Howe, he will stick with this. If he went over Aston Villa with 11, he will use this same formula and starting lineup to play against City and Liverpool. But if there is not that good result against Villa, he will start changing things, because it's. I'm not just looking at it as just one game, because there is City and Liverpool, so it's going to be interesting first 3 games. So I hope, I believe he will start with the best 11. Maybe he's confused which to play, but I think he will reach the best formula available. So, and he will, if he win against Villa, he will continue with the same plan against City and Liverpool.
And what's your prediction, Al-Walid? I mean, Kevin's gone for a 3-1. Have you got a feeling that it's going to be a win, or are you erring on the side of caution like Roger? He's saying 2-1 or 2-2. However, a Penman will get a few pennies on it. So yeah, I mean, what's your view on the prediction?
Well, it's easy if I say draw, but I don't think this game going for a draw. I think a lot of goals, but I believe Newcastle will win. Maybe 3-2.
3-2. Okay, Steve. Interesting game this, isn't it? It's an interesting one to kickstart, and the games don't get any easier. I mean, every game in the Premier League's hard, I guess, but we've got a tough opening, and this one is, for me, I would say it's a must win. I would think if we can kickstart our season with 3 points, then things will get better quite quickly. What's your take on the game?
Well, it's a big confidence boost if we can get the 3 points, because it's as we talked earlier on about the predictions for from the pundits, that they see Aston Villa finishing above us. So if we can get their scalp under our wing early on, then that's a good start. I think the one positive thing is, I don't think in the games in the States and in the home games at the weekend, we've given nothing away about how we're going to play and who's going to play. So he's got no idea at all, Emery, about how we're going to line up. I was hoping you weren't going to ask us to pick the teams, which we haven't really got time to do that, because I wouldn't have a clue. And since the teams we've had we've had a strong 11 each game that were played recently in both the last couple in the States and the 2 at the weekend. It's going to be, there's a lot of positions that are up for grabs, but I think we are good at is the press. I think we saw that whoever was playing was still good at the press, but we've got to watch the pace. I think Watkins is always a troublemaker when we play against Villa, and I think we've got to be very careful about him. We're going to have Diaby, who we obviously after for quite a number of transfer windows a couple of years ago, and it wasn't that long ago, last season. He's pretty fast, and that I think is going to make who plays left back going to be a big decision for Eddie to make. But I think we can still be strong. I think we'll be up for it. Certainly, I don't think there's any fear in Aston Villa. I think we got a shock when we played them down there, and I think we'll not let them be. We'll certainly be ready for them. And I'll predict a 2-0.
2-0. Okay, Mitch, as always, we'll get your dice prediction on Friday on the Amigos. But looking ahead to this game, it's it's great. It's a home game. So often Newcastle are on the road, for the big kickoff. So for us to get a home game is a big advantage, I think. And I've got to be honest, I'm more confident than I would be, I think, if we were away to Villa at the weekend. What's your take on this game?
I think this game in the next few, I think we've got what's on paper, a tricky start. But it's an opportunity to lay some markers down. One thing I think you're going to see this season is you're going to see a Premier League of 2 divisions. I think the gulf between the top 10 teams and the bottom 10 teams will be significant. And so as we're playing a lot of what you could perceive as the top 10 teams early, could make a significant difference when it comes to the run-in, how many points we pick up now from the off. I certainly don't think Eddie's given anything away to Emery at all. I think starting 3 at the back against Pep, in the States, I think was an interesting move. It was just a totally, that's all smoke and mirrors. I don't think he's given anything away with the lineups that he put out at the weekend. I think he does know by now who he wants in his starting 11. And I think Emery will be given something different to think about. And to be fair, they outfoxed were down at Villa Park. You've got to give them their dues. They worked very hard for it and earned 3 points fairly. I think they are blooding in new players as well. So you don't know how that's going to upset their system. Or a couple of those players going to take a while to get used to the Premier League. Let's see. I just want to see we step out with confidence. The confidence that we should have as a Champions League team with anybody coming to our home ground on the opening day of the season. And if we can step out with that confidence and apply ourselves, I don't see why we can't take the 3 points.
Yeah, okay. Craig Lee says we've got City at the best time as well. They're not match fit. They're not up and running. They're playing in Greece less than 48 hours before the playoffs. Pep won't be happy. He's already whinging. Yeah, Ian Brownlee says same as last year though, Craig. George, the game of the weekend then, Aston Villa at home. It's great to have a home game to start with. It is.
And I think who it is that doesn't matter that much either. I think we've got to start on the front foot and try and, as Neil says, lay down some markers for what's coming. What I find interesting, and the lads have already talked about it, is that in America, Eli, I forget his name now. The Villa manager, Eli Emery, played his top team as far as I could see, and I think could be wrong, but I have a sneaking fancy that's why Ellie did some messing about. But that's it. No, I think we're in with a good shout, whoever it was we're playing, and I think a 2-0 win to Newcastle would be what I would expect. But I expect a good game as well, because Villa are a good side, there's no doubt about it. I mean, the biggest problem they've got is if somebody loses the manager's Grecian 2000, they'll be in real trouble then.
Okay, there was a couple of pointers coming in. Ben Phillipson, he said, hi lads, I see we're after Anderson from Palace. What's your thoughts? There's certainly going to be another defensive recruitment, I think, George. Lots of rumours flying around at the moment. Is Anderson from Palace the answer?
No, I don't think so, but it's interesting that we're looking. That's the important thing. It's interesting we're looking. But no, I don't think he would be the answer.
Okay, Mitch, Anderson?
He's got a bit of shithouse in him, so I quite like him.
Yeah. Okay, Steve Wilkinson?
Yeah, possibly Premier League experience again, which Eddie seems to like. So I think he would do me.
Al-Walid, Anderson?
Anderson, I think he will be under a lot of pressure.
Okay, Kev?
Agree with Mitch. Not the best footballer in the world, but he can kick somebody about a football pitch for a bit and let Sven Botman play the game of football. You know, essentially that's what you need in the back. You know, you don't have to be nice. Defending's not nice. It's keep clean sheets, do what you got to do. But he can, from what I've seen, he can play a little bit. You know, but yeah, if that's where they're looking, hey, you know, any addition's a good addition.
Okay, you got Nunes sent off last year, says Ian. Sefton Mag says, George, can you remember my old boss who worked at the players' entrance, Jackie?
Yes. Anybody from about 1950 to about 1970 who was signed on any sort of form at St James's Park had to go in the little wooden door at the back of the wooden stand, and the bloke on the little wooden door was Jackie, and he seemed to have a memory for who were pulling his leg and who shouldn't be there and who should be there. So I remember the man quite clearly. Obviously, I didn't know him particularly, but I do remember him and did an important job.
Just time to squeeze Eamon's question in, because it's a yes/no question. Lads, would you be satisfied with 4 points from the last 3 games? Obviously, from the first 3 games, 4 points from the first 3 games. Obviously, more would be a huge bonus. How are the lads? George, would you be happy with 4 points from Villa, Man City, Liverpool?
No, I'd want more than that. 5 at least.
Okay, Mitch?
I'm with my dad on that one.
Yeah. Steve?
Prefer more. There's 2 home games, both winnable. Liverpool are no great shakes. I think we could get 6.
All right, Al-Walid?
I expect 5 points. Draw with City and Liverpool and win over Villa.
All right, and Kev?
I'll split the difference. I'll go 7, 2 wins in a draw.
There you go. That's what Tim Cairns has gone for as well. I'll go for 7 as well, to be honest. Let's get off to a flyer. Let's put these people in their place. Let's shut the pundits up, which is what we started with last night. And David Cook and Andrew, why not? 9, 9, and Ian Brownlee, 9. And Bill Burnett, 1. A great show tonight, as always. Great to have the company of George and Mitch.
Thanks again, everybody.
And Steve and Al-Walid and Kevin. Big thanks to Ian for jumping on. Please support his charity. It's still pinned in the comments. I've just made a donation tonight. Good luck to Stamford and Cricket Club. I am back tomorrow night. It is the return of Supermac and Gibbo at 6 o'clock after their summer break. Look forward to seeing you at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Take care, guys.
Cheers,
everybody.
Good night.
We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow.
hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.